The first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise for it if you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stand for a moment of silent reflection. And thank you. First order of business will be roll call. Down the row. Member Totten.
Present.
Member Shuker. Present. Member Fan.
Present.
Senator Williams.
Present.
Representative Abney.
Present.
Member Ms. Gorski.
Present.
Member McClenny. Member Berginger.
Present.
Member Doyle.
Present.
And I'm here as well. Member Turman is not here today, if you note that for the record. Thank you very much. The first order of business will be the approval of the minutes from the February 28th, 2025 regular meeting of the board. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Motion second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. And if you'd like to abstain, please note. Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Okay. Two abstentions. Please note abstentions of Representative Abney and Senator Williams. Thank you. Because we have comment germane to action items today, we're going to move and have public comment earlier today. So we're going to start public comment. The first speaker is Ross Nicotero. Hello.
Morning, Madam
Good
Chair.
morning and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Port Authority board members. Some of you know me, some of you do not. My name's Ross Nicotero. I'm the president business agent of Local 85 here in Pittsburgh, and also the chairman of the ATU Legislative Conference Board throughout the Commonwealth, the state of Pennsylvania. While I am proud and humbled and honored to represent the 2,200 people that provide this service every day in Allegheny County, I also am in charge or see over the 18 ATU properties throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So my comments this morning will focus on two basic points. One, the current funding crisis and concerns, and two, what happens if we do not achieve our goals. The funding crisis as it goes right now. Regarding the funding, you're going to hear from many individuals today regarding the fiscal crisis facing transit systems across the whole Commonwealth, including ours here at PRT. The numbers are well documented. I don't need to repeat them here. Rather than talking about specific numbers, I want to emphasize this is about the people. And contrary to what many believe, this is not just about transit in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Scranton, Erie, Wilkes-Barre, Westmoreland County, a lot of other members around the state, this affects greatly as well. This is about people in big cities, small towns, and rural communities. I apologize. I want everyone to hear that Local 85 and the ATU Conference Board wholeheartedly endorse Governor Shapiro and Lieutenant Governor Davis's efforts to fund mass transit throughout the Commonwealth. With my leadership team, we've made numerous trips to Harrisburg. We're leaving again Monday morning to meet with some of our legislators that actually sit on your board or previously on your board. One of the things that's unique is Lieutenant Governor Davis's father is actually driving the Route 64 as we speak. So we are proud to, once he was a board member here at PRT, having a direct connection with Lieutenant Davis and with Governor Shapiro. Hopefully we can get some of this stuff done. Our goal is dedicated funding to sustain mass transit. The bottom line is, as a leader of hardworking men and women who provide the essential services to everybody in Allegheny County daily, all stakeholders, PRT, Local 85, PPT, and other pro-transit entities, we must work in a concerted manner to secure a reliable, dedicated source of revenue, which increases with inflation. All stakeholders benefit from reliable, dedicated service. We stand ready and committed to make this happen. I pledge you our commitment to get this done. Number two, what happens if we don't get what we need? As I stressed in point one, dedicated funding is unquestionably benefit everybody. For every dollar invested in transit, it reaps $5 to $6 back to the local economy. As the list goes on, I would like to say and witness the several recent comments from executive leadership. The mission that we made is clear. Should the funding needs go unfulfilled, there will be no less than 2 Port Authority or PRT garages closed, bridges closed, 41 out of 100 routes would be eliminated completely. The route frequency on the other 59 would not be adequate to get all the hardworking men and women and students to work in school. While we are hopeful it never comes to this, I must stress and use if the proverbial axe begins to swing, it's an imperative before it does that all members are involved in the process. I will not stand here lightly as if this comes down on my members that provide the service every single day, that we don't look inward to the people that reside in this building on what they do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up is Chris Sandvik.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Sandvig. I am the founder and executive director of Mobilify Southwestern Pennsylvania. I am also the proud rider of PRTs 75, 87, P1, and a little less frequently the 65, 69, 28X, and 91. The severity of PRT's cuts is terrifying. Sustainable long-term investment in public transit is essential to ensure our region remains accessible and equitable for all, to say nothing of being economically viable. This proposal isn't just another roadblock to our region's economic recovery. It is a bus-swallowing Pittsburgh sinkhole when we can least afford it. PRT is just the tip of the spear, as you heard before. Smaller buses and paratransit systems statewide, including our access, face similar fates or worse. All 67 counties have some form of transit. Some may become insolvent as a result of this. And it's not like we didn't know. I co-led a coalition whose fight culminated in Act 89, the landmark legislation that saved PA transit and our roads and bridges. We all knew that the law had a 10-year shelf life, and it's not like we didn't warn folks. In fact, many of us, including PRT, rang this alarm in 2019. We made it 4 years longer than expected. PRT and its staff and its operators should be commended for its fiscal stewardship and rewarded for it. Instead, we face the opposite. These financial decisions do have real-world consequences. People aren't parcels. Employers, doctors, and many others won't just wait a little longer for folks to show up like they would their Amazon package. Our vulnerable neighbors rely on transit to get and keep a job, make it to the doctor and grocery store, visit friends and family, and basically have a meaningful, dignified life. If you're the caretaker of an older adult who uses these systems, by the way, and hold your own job, this should really concern you. I also want to be very clear. While not quite on par with the collapse of steel, the collapse of transit, which is very real here, could be disastrous for our region. Workers and employers alike seek places that invest in transit. Will they come? Will they stay? Would your kids want to live in that Pittsburgh? Would you? I don't see this as hyperbole. During a previous fight at the national level, Ronald Reagan, of all people, once said in a weekly radio address, America can't afford throwaway roads or disposable transit systems. He understood that a robust multimodal transportation system is a core function of American government. It's as true today as then. It's time for Harrisburg to put forth a real funding package, not what's essentially a 1 month's allowance for a county, and keep Pennsylvania moving for good this time. We all deserve nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Braden Parker.
Morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
morning.
Good morning. And I appreciate the opportunity to address the board. I have some concerns and questions. And one of them is related to when you guys are threatening all these cuts. And I happen to look at the employment agreement for your CEO. He's making $312,000 a year. Can somebody explain this to me as to how, when you say money is tight, and I look at the salary of $312,000 a year. And just a couple years ago, she was making $269,000 a year, in addition to all the bonuses that she's receiving. So I would like to know how this works. And number two, where is the money going? If you ask me, I think that there should be a third-party neutral audit of PRT to see where this money is going, because I ride the red line every day and I see what goes on. I'm not even going to tell you what I have seen in terms of track conditions. We are going up through the Allentown detour. I've called in some concerns to customer service. They went unaddressed. So that being said, what are we doing here? You spent how much money a year or two ago rebranding yourselves from Port Authority to now Pittsburgh Regional Transit? And I know what it costs to rebrand an organization. There's the paperwork involved, the schedules all have to be reprinted. Not to mention vehicles have to be rebranded. But you guys say that you're now low on money. You see where I'm going with this, people? It's all I'm gonna say. And I'd like to get some answers as to your CEO's salary. That's paramount to me. So I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Next, we have Marcellus Cooper. Good morning and welcome.
Hello, my name is Marcellus Cooper. I'm a daily PRT writer, university educator, and I live in Brookline. I'm here today because of the proposed elimination of the 39 bus route, one of the only lines connecting my neighborhood to the rest of the city. It would deeply impact my life and the lives of many others. My household of 4 working adults has 1 car, so I rely primarily on the 39 to get to work in Oakland, where I teach. I also use it for a majority of my medical appointments. For lupus, an autoimmune condition I manage daily. Without it, I would be forced to walk roughly 30 minutes to get to the red line, up steeper hills than the ones I already have to take. If I miss my bus and I take the 41, another route proposed to be cut. I'm someone with a job, support, and relative stability, one of the best case scenarios for a condition like mine. And this is already a lot. And it's only going to get harder. And I know I'm not the only one. But this goes beyond me. These cuts, no matter how thoughtful, are devastating. Of the 41 routes being proposed for elimination, looking back at data provided from one of the previous committee meetings, 19 of those routes serve communities that are designated as low income and primarily minorities. That's nearly half of all the cuts falling on the backs of people who can't afford them and losing reasonable service, full stop. It's not equity, it's not neutrality, that's harm because of previous inaction. And while all this is happening, it's been acknowledged, right, paratransit service being slashed by 62% and fares for it going up 20%. That's not just an inconvenience for elders, for neighbors with disabilities. That's loss of independence, that's access of care, that's daily dignity. And I understand that PRT is facing immense pressure. I think of cities who face similar challenges, it's difficult. Trying to find ways to adapt, thinking about things like supplementing microtransit, thinking about adopt a busway routes, cities like Sugar Land, Texas, or thinking about Detroit. They've had some success, but I would hope that there is a level of strategy before pulling the plug on so many things. And fare increases, sure, many times are necessary, but I would hope that gradual over time practice so riders can plan and not panic could be implemented. I'm speaking today not just out of frustration, though I have plenty, but because I love this city, and it was said last week that Allegheny deserves better, and I agree. We deserve public transit that sees us, that sees neighborhoods like mine and others far worse off, that doesn't make us pay more for less or worse for nothing. Now, please fight for us when you're going up to bat in these conversations about strategy and funding. And don't make cuts where there's nothing left to cut. If we want to see a return, I think we really need to protect the routes that keep us connected to work, to each other, to care. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rodney Sanford. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, guys. I'm a Pittsburgh transplant. I moved down here from Syracuse, New York for work back in August. And ever since I first moved down here, I relied on the PRT bus system from day one. And I mainly ride on the 54, the 51, and sometimes the 48 just to get me to where I have to go. And I've been noticing for the upcoming plans that some of these services are going to get trimmed a little bit. And I mainly take them not only to get me downtown, but also to church on Sunday mornings to where I have to go. And if these services get trimmed, like they are, or for longer wait times, I don't know what me, myself, and my fellow riders are going to be doing about this because I don't drive, and God forbid, who can afford Ubers nowadays because those things are so freaking outrageously priced that even with discounts, it's still unfeasible for some here. But like I said, but also we have all these attractions that make Pittsburgh great. How are people who can't drive, who can't walk, wouldn't be able to get to those transactions like Point Break Park or the nice amusement park that we have within Pittsburgh that people want to go to because if they don't drive, the bus is the only way that they can be able to get there affordably here. You know what I'm saying? Without having to take a $30 Uber ride there and back and make it outrageously expensive for just to have a nice family time out. So when you guys are going through these meetings like this to trim the fat, I don't trim the fat that much. And like I said, just like the gentleman said about the CEO salary, why does it have to be so high in lady in her position? What is she getting out of this? Because I mean, why not take some of that money and just put it back into the system? Because yes, she's a CEO and all that, but does she really need to be making over $300,000 a year in her line of work? I mean, yes, she's in charge of a major corporation. I mean, of a major business here, but still, I mean, determining the fat should start at the top, not by us ridership. Because if it wasn't for us riders, you guys wouldn't be having jobs. Because it's us riders who put those clothes on your back, the food on your tables, and those cars that you guys drive. If it wasn't for people like us, you guys would have no mortgage payments, no cell phones, no nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Robin Strickler. Can you check to see if I have Robin listed as in person? Robin Strickler? Robin Strickler? Okay, I'll just make a note in case Robin comes later. I know there may be confusion about the order of speaking today. Our next speaker is online, I believe. It's Diana Prince. I'm going to call it 3 times. Diana Prince. Diana Prince. Okay, I'll make note as well. Oh boy, I'm going to mess up this one. Brian Hatgalek.
It's Brian Hatchalakis. Do you hear me?
I got it. And thank you for saying your last name for me because I wasn't going to do it justice. So thank you.
You're quite welcome, ma'am. Good morning. My name is Brian Hatchalakis. I'm a totally blind user of PRT and the access system. What bugs me is you're going to be with all these proposed cuts, you want to eliminate a bus in my neighborhood that's detrimental to that's very important to people that I know, which is the 41. The 41 gets people to and from work who I'm friends with, and it also it gets it will be very devastating because in the building that I live, it seems like a lot of people rely on the bus and the trolley. In fact, my next door neighbor has mobility issues that impede her walk down to the red line from where I live. I live on Washington Road and Bar Hill Roads over here in Mount Lebanon. Also, for me as a blind access user, the loss of access would ruin my independence in the Pittsburgh area. I'm very educated and I want to be able to use the independence that my parents taught me to use from a younger age. I feel that with the proposed cuts, that you're telling me as a disabled person that my life doesn't matter. In my opinion, all lives should matter, and everything should be that everything should be basically, if it boils down to it, eliminating transit in Pennsylvania would make me think long and hard where I'd want to live the rest of my life. Do you guys understand totally? So please, for me, a person who's educated and who's trying to get into the workforce, and for a person who's putting all that he's got into what he does, please keep everything rolling, not just for my sake, but for generations to come in Pittsburgh. And if we get transit rolling, Pittsburgh can be truly a city on the rise. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Our
Sorry
next
about
speaker.
stumbling too. I apologize.
Oh, no, you're good. Our next speaker is Fonda Doucet, I believe online. Is Fonda there? I'll say it 3 times. Fonda Doucet. Fonda Doucet. Okay, I'll make a note. Our next speaker, I believe, is also online, Bernadette Massey. Bernadette? I think I see the Bernadette. Bernadette Massey. Okay. I think she, okay, we'll make a note of that one too. Next is Ralph Williams.
206-3320.
Hello.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm here.
Hold on a second. Is that Bernadette?
Yes, I don't know what I'm doing on this
okay.
camera.
Bernadette, give me 1 second. Ralph, when Bernadette is done, then we'll call on you. So thank you for your patience. Bernadette, the floor is yours.
Okay, and I don't know where the camera went, but I'll just read what I have. Okay, so I came up with an idea, and I understand because of all the cuts that are coming down from Washington, although we're going for the state, the state is getting overtaxed because of what's happening in Washington. I retired from UPMC. I worked outpatient, inpatient for many years, and I had to take trolleys and buses. The last time there was a cut, we all know what happened to the people up in the Hill District, and it wasn't good. A lot of the doctors that used to be med students, I used to call them my puppies. I watched them grow up, and they have all their own specialties. Some of them, most of them, left Mercy because their patients weren't able to get there, and they ended up putting a lot of their money into St. Clair Hospital. Cutting the Bower Hill I've taken that bus plenty of times. I grew up in Cedarhurst Manor across the street from the hospital. They lost their grocery store. The majority of those people out there, if you take the Bower Hill bus, they're wearing hospital scrubs. You got Asbury Heights. You got all of those private care families that come out for all those senior high rises and places on Kane Boulevard. That's going to hurt them tremendously. Also, there is something I think we can do that would be a solution. And I talked to Wayne Fontana about this, and it's designated funds. I know the city has talked about block grants before, but designated subsidized funds, because they're not going to get staff. They're going to lose staff. They're going to lose patient care. But if there was a fund that these major mega hospitals in the city of Pittsburgh can come up with and work with you, a subsidized fair fund, that would, this could work. And the Banksville, by the way, cutting out Banksville and Greentree, did you ever count all of the churches? Us seniors, it's like church is the only thing we can get to do, or go to the senior programs to eat. There was some kind of a survey that went around that somebody said PRT was backing behind the Age Well program. But the questions, I couldn't answer them because none of the options to answer how I would get there if the bus was cut, it didn't apply. A good actuarialist, or however you pronounce that, they know how to ask the questions to get their outcome that they already want to have. There's going to be people that are going to hurt.
Okay, Bernadette.
I hear
Thank you very much for your comments. That's your 3 minutes. I appreciate it. Thank you. Our next speaker will be Ralph Williams. I believe Ralph is online. Thank you for your patience.
You're welcome, Madam Chair. Thank you. And Ross Nicotero kind of took a little bit of fire out of what I had to say today, which is fine. That's great, because I have an alternate things I want to say. First of all, I really don't appreciate everyone picking on Catherine Kellerman. First of all, I want to tell you a little small story. When I first met Catherine, was at a PPT rally downtown. She came to our rally, shook hands with everybody, and spoke with everyone. I told her my name. About a month later, I was coming out of the Rite Aid downtown, and she held the door open for me because, in case a lot of you don't know, I'm handicapped and in a wheelchair. And she said my name, and she asked me how I was doing. I have respect for that, okay? And I have respect for Catherine Kellerman as the CEO of this company, because she does her job, all right? She went through that train derailment down at Station Square. She went through the library line that got flooded. She went through a bunch of stuff since she's been the CEO of this company. So for anyone to sit here and criticize the fact that she gets a raise is wrong. Okay, that's first thing. My next thing is Abney Williams, and I think I'm pronouncing his name right, Picachero, or what? Guys are in the state legislature. Let's take a look at these comments today, and let's get this done. Let's get this funding done, okay? Instead of raising sales tax, how about this? Rivers Casino made $800 million last year in the final quarter of the year. Every quarter, they make $800 million. Why are we not going after the casinos for some money? Their employees get to work with transit. Why aren't we going after the casinos? Wines and spirits. A lot of people drink wines and spirits, and I get it. There's a drink tax here. I get that. But how come we're not looking into them? They make a lot of money. How come we're not looking into the gas drillers? Why don't we put a tax on them to help transit? All right. Because the turnpike laid an egg and you can't get funding from them anymore and everything else. I've been through this. I was once an operator. I got laid off and I wasn't happy about it back in the day, and whose name of the CEO I'm not going to mention here today. It's unacceptable. Employees are going to lose their jobs. They're going to get laid off after they just started. Okay. Not only that, you got handicapped people. I live in a building where we have 106 residents up in Allentown, and they all take public transportation except for maybe about 5 that have cars. Okay. And a lot of us are in wheelchairs. A lot of them are senior citizens. How do you do this? Abney, Williams, Picachera, or Picnata, whatever your last name is, I can't pronounce it. You're here today. Listen closely. Okay. I will be burning up your email and your phones. Please get this done. Please get this funding done, and please get it done. Stop picking on Catherine too, everybody. Catherine's done her job as a CEO. I pointed out everything that she's been through in this company. Okay, with a lot of
Thank
stuff
you very
that's
much,
going on.
Mr. Thank you, Mr. Williams. I appreciate it. Next on our list is Andrew Hussein. It says in person. I don't see Andrew here. Oh,
I'm online. I
Andrew.
couldn't
Hi,
make it in
Andrew.
person.
Welcome. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. All right. Good morning. Ralph and a few people already touched on some of the stuff I wanted to say, but I will real quick go to remind people present on this meeting that, first of all, this is PRT's board meeting. This is not government or legislator, which, by the way, who are a big part of why this situation is coming about. So before attacking Port Authority, because this doesn't just need to be an attack on Port Authority. This needs to be an attack on the government who created this problem and fails to solve this problem. But a reminder to folks on here that Port Authority has different funding from different sources with different roles and strings attached to it. Whether that's operations, whether that's pay, whether that's buying new stuff, etc. Also, unfortunately, as one of the PRT Downtown Hines people have reminded me, even if Catherine's salary and all the salaries of all the management was cut, that alone is not going to solve these problems because,
Here, I want
again,
to show
this
you
is a
something
government
real quick. Can
problem.
you see real quick over here to
But
the
continuing
computer?
on, though, to why we are here
Look
today.
at the back end of this lady's hair. Doesn't
with
that
these
look like
cut-
Lauren?
Is there someone speaking in the background?
Great.
Anyways,
Might be Lauren's
continuing on, though. So why we're here today is to urge PRT to, first off, minimize or delay these cuts as much as possible. Second, to vote yes to obviously allowing a public comment period and making that public comment period on these cuts last as long and be as inclusive as possible. And in the meantime, PRT and everyone in this meeting who's affected or knows someone who's affected or whatever needs to, pardon my French, fight like hell and get involved. And to answer people like Braden and other people who have questions, unfortunately, these board meetings are not a Q&A session, so you're not going to get an answer. But I urge you again to reach out to advocates and advocacy groups. Reach out to Allegheny County Transit Council and PPT, Pittsburghers for Public Transit, and get involved, because this is 2002 to 2006 and 2009 to 2011 all over again, but worse. This is like a horror film trilogy coming to a head, and we need to fight this like hell, period. And with that, I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Hussein. Our next speaker is Laura Weens. I believe, is Laura online?
Yep. Good morning.
Hi, Laura. Well, good morning.
My name is Laura Weens. I'm the director of Pittsburghers for Public Transit. We are a grassroots community union of transit riders and workers, and also the co-conveners of the statewide transit advocacy coalition, Transit for All PA, which is organizing for dedicated expanded state funding with riders and organizations and state legislators across the Commonwealth for the last 5 years. It goes without saying that these service cuts and fare increases would be catastrophic. Thousands of workers will lose their jobs. Many of these jobs will go unfilled without public transit. Nurses, servers, janitors, adjunct professors, childcare providers, dishwashers, municipal employees, and the streets, particularly in our highly desirable and amenity-rich neighborhoods like downtown, Northside, Oakland, Lawrenceville, Strip District, East Liberty, and Southside, will be choked with cars. Our major cultural and sporting events will simply not be able to happen with the same attendance. A transit system that is not usable makes for a region that is not livable. But we are ready for this fight. There's been a transit crisis statewide for years now because our state legislature has failed to increase the allocation for public transit for more than a decade. Notably, PA allocates the lowest amount of money per capita for public transit of all states in the Northeast. And our riders and workers feel this in Allegheny County with the 20% cuts to service we've sustained over the last 5 years of the pandemic. In Erie, where Sunday service has been eliminated in the last few years, leaving riders unable to get to the store and places of worship. In Harrisburg, where healthcare offered to workers has been subpar, leading to hiring and retention issues. In Philly, where fare increases just passed and a likely 20% of service will be cut if new funding is not passed. The source of the problem is shared, and so we urgently required a shared statewide solution. Over just the last week, we at Transit for All PA organized more than 33,000 letters to state legislators, and we've named our specific goal, which is organizing for $540 million in new state funding for FY26 that will allow for service restoration statewide to 2019 levels and a 10% increase in non-Pittsburgh Philly regions that have long deserved better. We've also identified the viable transportation-related dedicated funding solution that will meet our needs. And next Wednesday, we have a Transit for All PA statewide call with over 300 registrants in which we will lay out our demand, our solution, and the plan to win. We are fighting to go beyond austerity and the fear of further loss to stabilization, restoration, and a vision for communities across PA that can thrive. To the board and community listening here, join us. Follow our efforts at transitforallpa.org. Take the fight with us to state leaders. And to our elected officials, it's time for you to rise to the occasion. As the community, we have done and will continue to do our jobs. It's time for you to do yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. Our next speaker is Amy Zeiss. Amy, are you online? Okay, I'll say her name 3 times. Amy Zeiss. Amy Zeiss. Okay, I'll make note in case she pops on later. Our next speaker, I believe, is in person. Brendan Wissinger. Good morning, Brendan.
Morning.
My son's name, so that's why I don't have a problem saying that much.
Everybody gets my first name wrong. Nobody gets my last name wrong, but despite the fact that it's so long.
I got it right because I got one at home.
I'm a graduate student at the University of Pittsburgh studying public administration. I live at 3806 Greensburg Pike in Forest Hills. I grew up in rural central Pennsylvania. The county I grew up in has no public transit, nothing. Not even, well, the only type of school or transit there is a school bus. And what do they call it? CART is what they call the bus that helps disabled people and senior citizens move around in my area. But beyond those, there isn't anything. I had to rely on my parents to do everything until I was 22 and then got my own car. My parents only had stick shift vehicles, and because my parents understandably did not have the patience to teach me how to drive a stick, they tried and I almost crashed and almost destroyed their car. So for me to be able to drive, I needed a car, but to get a car, I would need to work to pay the bills associated with that, which my parents couldn't afford. But to work, I needed a car. It felt impossible. I couldn't visit or go out with friends. I couldn't get a job, and I couldn't get involved with activism and other things like I am today. For me, when I went to college, it meant freedom to me. Not because of leaving my parents, that's part of it, but because I had transit. I didn't have to depend on a car to go everywhere. Every person deserves adequate access to transit. I depend on bus lines, namely bus lines 69 and 67, to get to school and get back to my apartment. And recently, because of a situation with the apartment that I'm living at, now I rely on bus lines 58 and 93. All of these would have reductions, or in case of 58, in case of, I believe it's 69, they would be cut completely. So, yeah, and recently my car's transmission blew, leaving me out without a car for weeks. I had to walk 30 minutes to a bus stop just to get to working school. At one point, I slipped on the ice and ended up bleeding. For me, these transit cuts would be devastating. As one article put, they are draconian. But there are more here that depend on these bus lines than me. People with disabilities, people that live paycheck to paycheck way more than I do, and just can't afford a car. We must pressure our senators and representatives to raise funding for our PRT and look for more innovative solutions. Many people have already suggested here, rely on possibly the county or the city of Pittsburgh to raise funding. Also, as a nerd, I do understand it seems that the proposal, even if you can't find any more funding, it seems to me that cutting lines and cutting frequency is worse than cutting fares, because cutting fares or cutting frequency in lines means you're creating a positive feedback loop where not as many people, even if you do try to get to work and you're not going to get it there on time, you're not going to be able to use the bus line, because if you get fired from your job because you're late, that's not going to help you. So people don't use bus lines. So people don't use bus lines. That means less fun. That means less people use them, more transit cuts, and so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wessinger. Brendan.
Thanks.
Our next speaker, I believe, is online, Marshall Nover. Marshall online?
Hi, yes, yep, thank
Hi,
you.
Marshall, welcome. You're up.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate you giving me a moment to speak today. And I just wanted to chime in. A couple of years ago, I lost the ability to drive due to epilepsy and became super dependent on the 31, which is what I use down here in Bridgeville. And, it was one thing before to be like, oh yeah, it's cool that we have buses, and, I'm glad that those are around. And another thing to be like, wow, I actually, I wouldn't be independent. I wouldn't be able to meet up and go places without this. And so when I saw these cuts and I saw, sort of what Brendan was hinting at, I saw potentially a feedback loop that could lead to just these sorts of services being cut. It was something that I felt I had to add my voice to, just to say, please, for people who can't get around without this sort of transportation, please find a solution. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much. I yield.
Thank you very much, Marshall. And our final speaker is Jennifer Rumble. Is Jennifer here? Hi, Jennifer. Welcome.
So good morning. My name is Jennifer Rumble and I'm a resident of Bridgeville. I want my tax dollars to go to the continued operation of the buses and the T lines, as I believe that we need to have more options and more direct lines, not less. I implore you not to decrease the service of public transportation. The system needs fertilized, not pruned, even if it costs the city and taxpayers more. I grew to love and rely upon public transportation systems whenever I went through a time where I did not have access to a car and had to solely rely on my bike and the PRT. The system wasn't perfect. There were delays, long travel times, but I was still able to function. And moreover, I learned the value of this public service. I was able to live in Highland Park, work in Blawnox, visit family in the North Hills, and successfully buy a house in Dormont, all without a car. And I moved to the South Hills in large part because of the T and how I fell in love with it during that time. We can't lessen the throughput of the T by eliminating the silver. I rely on that in order to be able to move back and forth between Washington Junction. I want this functionality to travel all over Pittsburgh and to stay available for myself and others. Without it, I know many that would no longer be able to get to work or even get to their local grocery store. Public transportation is a part of infrastructure and a public service. It is not meant to turn a profit. It should be fully funded and allow Pittsburgh residents to access the jobs and resources they need to live. These cuts hurt our most vulnerable populations, the ones that don't have any other choices in transportation. I am already needing to drive friends with disabilities home because their bus doesn't run past 11 p.m. If you cut their line entirely, they also won't be able to get to their work in the city. Remember how when people started to work from home more, the businesses in the city that relied on foot traffic suffered? Taking away so many lines not only will reduce foot traffic in borough centers, but will also reduce people being able to access the businesses they work for. Cutting access to transportation will hurt Pittsburgh economically, both at the workers' ability to secure income and from the businesses' ability to operate. On top of all of this, cuts will worsen urban sprawl, put more cars on the road, make traffic worse, increase collisions, and therefore put the health and safety of our residents in jeopardy, stress our already degrading infrastructure, and use unnecessary fossil fuels. It's true that the system is not reliable right now, but making it unusable is not the answer. I dream of a Pittsburgh that has a light rail that stretches from the airport all the way to Monroeville, as far north as Cranberry and up both rivers to Oakmont and Oakland. A pipe dream, I know, but cutting services such that I can't even get from Bridgeville to Dormont on the 41 is not the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just going to call the 4 people that weren't, because we just had a time difference in shifting of moving people forward, and I'll do it again at the end of the meeting, just I think to allow for people to speak. So Robin Strickler, Robin was supposed to be here on in person. Robin Strickler. Robin Strickler. Next, Diana Prince. Diana Prince. Diana Prince. Okay. Fonda Doucet. Fonda Doucet. Fonda Doucet, and then Amy Zeiss. Amy Zeiss. Amy Zeiss. If members are okay, I'm gonna, again, just at the end of the meeting, just because we shifted, I just want to make sure people had opportunity. All right, that ends public comment for now. Move on to the next agenda item will be our report from our Chief Executive Officer, Ms. Kellerman. Catherine?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. And Brendan, are you still here, Brendan? Keep it going for that MPA, my friend, MPA power. It's full. So Brendan and everyone else, thank you for joining us today. Before we start, may I please have a moment of silence for the deaths of the following retired and 1 active employee. Retired operators William Brown, Larry Cuterillo, Steve Ellick, William Foley, Terrence Guthrie, Edward Hess, Daniel Mudrinich, Timothy O'Connor, Mary Schreiner, and William Brown. I want to add one name that I don't see on this list, which is Chuck Farkas. Chuck was one of my first operations friends, always had a smile, always had suggestions, and even during the pandemic when service was cut in his area, even when he was driving extra hours because we couldn't hire enough folks, Chuck's always been there for PRT. So to his family and to everyone who's missing Chuck, you're on our minds. An active maintenance receiver, Jim Henderson. We have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. I'd like to welcome 2 new board members today, Representative Arian Abney, and then as of yesterday, Senator Lindsey Williams. Thank you for joining our board. To our newest members, we look forward to working with you, particularly around the topics that you heard a lot about today. Our agency has arrived at a serious, urgent, and unfortunately utterly predictable crossroad. We laid out last week and will repeat today, without additional state investment, nearly a third of our system could be gone by this time next year. Our fares would become the 5th highest in the nation. Last week, we discussed a 35% reduction in service and a 9% increase in fares. This would devastate individuals, families, businesses, and communities across the region. Now, this is not just a transit crisis. It is a social and economic crisis as well. You've heard from many of our commenters today who take transit to come into work, about their friends and their neighbors, physician assistants, dental hygienists, tech workers, servers, business analysts, customer service representatives, cooks, secretaries, janitors, teachers, office managers, nurses, and countless others who will not be able to get to their jobs. Not just jobs that disappear with direct access, but jobs where you have an additional transfer, a longer time that you have to wait, jobs which are made inaccessible because what's left can't get you there. These are not just numbers. These are the people who keep our region running, friends and neighbors as well. For thousands across Allegheny County, public transit isn't an option only, it is a lifeline. We heard again today, seniors and people with disabilities would be cut off from healthcare, in many cases life-saving healthcare. Students cannot get to school. Neighbors and friends would be stranded, unable to fully participate in all the things which make Pittsburgh and Allegheny County such great places to live. And these cuts don't just hurt riders, they affect everybody. Even if you don't ride the bus or the T or the incline, chances are you rely on someone who does. Maybe it's your employee, your coworker, your customer, the barista who makes your morning coffee, the worker who stocks your grocery store shelves. All but one of our routes serve a grocery store or serve a hospital. And in the pandemic, these were heroes running these routes, getting heroes to work. These folks are still heroes today, even when we talk about this funding crisis. Public transit is also the backbone of our economy. Keeps small businesses by thriving, by bringing in customers and workers, along with the comment on foot traffic. It helps major employers reduce the need for parking and make it easier for their employees to get to work. Transit eases congestions on roads and prevents additional wear and tear on our highways. It also improves air quality, reduces carbon emissions, makes our region healthier and more sustainable. And if you drive, public transit sustains you too. Everyone on the bus is one less car between you and that cup of coffee. It's one less car merging on that ramp on 376 that you're grousing about. And remember, if there's 40 people on the bus, that's 40 cars. And Arctic has seating for 70 people. There are days the P1 has 120 people. Imagine if those were vehicles that were in your way from A to B. If you care about economic growth, transit matters. We strengthen neighborhoods, we attract development, and we help communities all across Pennsylvania thrive. Now, PRT doesn't just benefit Allegheny County. In the past 5 years alone, we have spent $2 billion in the Commonwealth on products like circuit breakers, sheet metal, and aftermarket bus parts. We've spent money in 30 counties across Pennsylvania. In the past 5 years, we've spent $114 million in Westmoreland County, $16 million in Cumberland County, $12 million in Washington County, and nearly $5 million in Butler County. We are an economic driver for Pennsylvania. And without new funding, these consequences are devastating. A year from now, we would be talking massive service reductions and fare hikes. Riders would be left scrambling for ways to get to work, school, and medical appointments if they can get there at all. Businesses will struggle to retain workers. Traffic congestion could get worse, air quality declines, and our region's economic momentum is at risk. Now, this is not the future that we want. I think somebody right before me said this. I think several of us said this. We should be expanding transit, not cutting it. As our region needs to grow and thrive, so does our network. We should be making service more frequent, more reliable, and more accessible. I think 2019 was the first time I talked about 24-hour service. So then COVID, and here we are. But folks deserve that 24-hour service. If you get off work or you're going somewhere at 2 a.m, you deserve to be able to get home. The reality is, though, state funding has not kept pace with the growing needs of transit across the Commonwealth. We have an older funding formula, and that means we are facing a structural budget deficit. Now, I want to stress, when this funding formula was enacted, this was the best solution that we had for the Commonwealth. The legislature was making sure we had funding to address the issues that we had in front of us that day. And while we are placing responsibility with the legislature has stepped up and taken care of transportation. Just this is our next iteration. The time is due for this conversation now. If you were here with Act 89, you knew this day was coming. COVID funding allowed it to go further out, but this has been a day long in coming. Act 89 gave us the funding we desperately need. We established this in 2013, and we made this funding last. We cut service, we shut a garage, we froze salaries, and spent within our means. When Act 89 expired, federal relief funding from COVID allowed us to fill the deficit that was going to be there and that exists today. This year, we spent the last of our COVID funding. We're taking $50 million out of our fund balance, out of the bank account, to make ends meet. Without new state funding, our next year's $100 million deficit grows to 110 the year after, 117, and continues on. 10 years from now, we're talking a $300 million, good gravy. Billion's bad enough, $300 million gap. There is not enough in the bank to cover these gaps. Transit agencies across the Commonwealth are facing or will still soon face the same crisis. Now, much of our budget is locked in fixed costs like utilities, pensions, and healthcare. Where we are looking at cutting then is only service and the administration which supports it. So when we talk service, it's also the folks who are handling every other association with it. These are the only places where funding goes. This is not just about keeping wheels turning. It's about protecting our economy, our communities, and our quality of life. At a time when local leaders are planning major investments in our region, public transit is more important than ever. We cannot afford to lose our economic and social benefits of a strong transit system. In just the past week, I've heard a lot of strong support from many of our elected officials, and I really appreciate their willingness to listen, but it's time for us to start moving on to action. Public transit in Pennsylvania and Southwest Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh and Southwestern Pennsylvania is as vital as our highways and bridges. And again, we have 79 of those bridges and 8 of those tunnels. We need to recognize this. Now, today our board is voting to open a public comment window on the service changes and a fair cut. I would like to reiterate to folks, this board is not voting today to take that service out there. Just like everyone at PRT, the board is completely focused on making sure we keep our service and we keep our fares. But your voices must be heard. It is not the fault of anyone in Southwestern PA that we live far enough away from Harrisburg. We can't just make it a day trip. It is our responsibility as a transit agency to make sure that we get people's attention and we get these voices so we can convey the importance of this service to folks who are not here and they can't see these meetings themselves. So today the board is voting to open a public comment window. They are not voting to cut service. I want to make sure we understand that. Now, in the coming months, we will continue to make our case that tax dollars we send to Harrisburg should be coming back to Pittsburgh as a smart investment in our future. We're going to continue to engage with riders, businesses, and policymakers, but we can't do it alone. The folks who showed up today, the folks who are watching us, we need everyone's voice. We need everyone's advocacy. And we need folks who control our funding to hear that Allegheny County deserves a transit system that works for everybody. Madam Chair, unless there's any questions, that concludes my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next agenda item, I believe we have Member McClenny is going to, our acting chair of the Performance and Oversight Committee. Member?
Good morning, everyone here in attendance and online. The Performance Oversight Committee met last week, and I have one item for the board's consideration. The committee reviewed 3 procurement items and determined the bids to be in accordance with PRT's procurement policies and procedures and the prices to be fair and reasonable. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends authorizing the award of bids listed in the resolution for the total amount of $19,278,206.50. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
I'll ask for motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
Chair Turman is not here for the Planning and Stakeholders Relations Committee, so I would have stepped in and I was going to do her report for her. So thank you very much. Planning and Stakeholders Relations Committee met last week, and there are 2 items and a report. So the first is a resolution to seek authorization to adopt Pittsburgh Regional Transit's Title VI program for 2025 through 2027. The Title VI program, which is updated every 3 years for federal legal requirements, ensures the PRT is not disproportionately impacting low-income or minority communities with its service or amenities. During the 2022 to 2024 period, it was found that 78 routes met the designation for low income and 75 met the designation for minority routes, both of which increased from the previous 3-year period. One significant disparate impact was identified, with overcrowding occurring on several trips into Oakland on minority race and ethnicity routes. Sorry about that. PRT is working to mitigate that impact now and will continue to do so over the coming year. Another change included a service increase on Route 40, Mount Washington, which was not originally brought before the board due to its intention as a temporary service increase. However, due to a longer than anticipated rehabilitation project on the the Mon Incline, the increased service level has remained, and the staff completed a Title VI analysis on the service increase. There was no disproportionate burdens or disparate impacts found. With that, I respectfully request that the board's approval for the resolution to adopt the Title VI program for the period of 2025 through 2027. With that, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
May I have a second? Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Our second motion is a resolution seeking authorization to proceed with a public comment period for fiscal year 2026 fare increases and service reductions. This resolution will allow PRT to begin soliciting public feedback, including holding public hearings regarding the ongoing financial crisis that has come about with the expiration of Act 89 and exhaustion of federal COVID relief funding. The public comment period will begin at 8 a.m. on Monday, March 31st, 2025, and conclude at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. State funding is no longer able to support the public transit needs of Allegheny County, resulting in a structural deficit that will continue to grow each year without renewed investment. Although the governor has proposed increasing public transit share of the state sales tax, which would increase PRT's share by an estimated $40 million, legislation related to the governor's proposal remains on the House floor. With much of PRT's budgets dedicated to fixed costs, PRT has few opportunities to narrow the funding gap outside of service reductions and a fare increase. While additional options are being explored, PRT has proposed a 35% reduction in bus, light rail, and incline service and a 9% fare increase, which would allow the agency to stabilize service in the next decade. These cuts include the elimination of 40 bus routes and the Silver Line and reductions in service of 53 additional bus routes and the Red Line. Additionally, this may lead to a 62% decrease in the ADA service area and a 20% fare increase for access paratransit riders, all of which would be effective in February of 2026. With that, I respectfully request and regrettably request the approval of this resolution to go to public comment. With that, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Questions or discussion?
I have a comment.
Sure.
I want to be clear that I am voting on this because it is opening public comment. We heard today the comments from the public. I've gotten hundreds of emails and calls into my office about the devastating impacts of these cuts. And I certainly have a lot of questions as to the cuts to the routes, what that looks like, the fare increases, what those cuts to staff might mean, and to our members of ATU, the impact on them. I will say that I'm committed to finding a sustainable funding stream in Harrisburg. That I agree with one of the commenters here today who said we should be fighting to go beyond austerity. And I agree, we need more. The way we bring more people to this region is not by cutting routes, and it's not by the status quo either. It's by increasing what options we have. And I think myself and a lot of my colleagues are going to be fighting for that in Harrisburg, but we do, as Catherine said, we do need to hear from you. Please keep reaching out to your elected officials, to both your friends and people who might need to be convinced to share your story about how this impacts you. Because we know that the governor's proposal is not enough to stave off these cuts, but I know myself and many of my colleagues didn't understand the $117 million until February. So that is a really big deal. Thank you for all who came and testified, and please engage in the public comment.
Can I also piggyback? I mean, not to be able to follow those amazing remarks, but a few folks here were in the room last week when these cuts were announced, and I personally felt like I was at a funeral. But this is not a funeral; it's a fight. So I know everyone in this room, and even some of the folks who've been part of the fights, years before establishing Act 89, that the timing is such that we're looking for local leadership more than ever. And the timing is also that cuts like these are unimaginable because it's already so unlivable right now. We heard from so many public commenters about the livability of being here in Pittsburgh, in Pennsylvania. And I think I take that seriously as well. Just imagining what it would be like without transit. So I do really encourage everyone to come out to these public comment periods, also to plug into Transit for All PA, which is again proposing a package to imagine what service could look like, even back to 2019 levels, and also for rural areas that under this proposed budget would definitely lose all their service in many cases, in many areas. So that Transit for All PA a campaign. You can Google it, and there's, I think it was mentioned earlier, but there's a meeting next Wednesday as well. But also to continue to ask for that leadership from representatives, from yourselves also as writers. So,
Thank you. Representative Abney?
So I would just add and echo, so you will continue to have my commitment and House Democrats' commitment to trying to find a solution to fund public transit. In fact, last year, we voted at least 2 times in the House and passed legislation to fund public transit. And so while I appreciate any of the phone calls or the emails that will come to my office, I will say something that maybe folks at PRT may not be able to say. And that is that you need to reach out to Senate Republicans, Pittman and Kim Ward. We sent transit funding over to the Senate and they did not move on it. And they are the ones who control what happens over on that side. So while I welcome the opportunity to continue to have conversations with you all, we need to make sure that we raise and elevate this conversation around public transit funding over to the Senate Republicans as well.
Okay, with that, I have a motion and a second. I'll ask for all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. I have 2 items to report after that vote. One is related to the Allegheny County Transit Council. The ACTC met on March 26th. The council allowed for the meeting to be used as an opportunity for PRT to speak to a joint session of the ACT Committee for Accessible Transit and the City County Task Force of Disabilities. CEO Catherine Kellerman spoke to the attendees about the history and context of the state funding and fiscal situation of PRT. Their next meeting is scheduled for April 23rd. And finally, the Committee on Accessible Transportation, CAT, met on March 6th. The staff presented an update on access service and programs, light rail accessibility program, and the 2024 annual service report. Your next regularly scheduled meeting is May 8th. Thank you very much, members, for allowing me to present Ms. Herman's report.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
The CAT committee also joined in that March 26th meeting.
Thank you. Note that for the record. I apologize for the exclusion. Our next item of business is the report of the Finance Committee. Member Doyle.
Good morning, Madam Chair and fellow board members. The Finance Committee met last week and I have one resolution for the board's consideration. The resolution seeks to extend and amend agreements with PFM Financial Advisors, LLC and NW Financial Group, LLC to provide financial advisory services to PRT. The initial agreements included a 3-year term with 2 option years with a not to exceed amount of $400,000. To date, 1 option year has been exercised, and this resolution would authorize PRT to exercise the 2nd option year with no change to the not to exceed amount. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. With that, I'll request a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second. Thank you. The motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Next, a review of the February 2025 financial results was presented at the meeting. It was reported that total operating income for February was below budget by approximately $200,000 due to lower than budgeted fares and access revenue. Total expenses for February were below budget by $1.7 million, with benefits being the only category that exceeded the budgeted amount due to a required pension payment. Through February, total operating income is about $600,000 higher than last fiscal year due to higher interest income. Passenger revenue is $188,000 below last fiscal year. Total expenses through February are $3.5 million higher than last fiscal year due to higher wages and salaries. Total subsidy through February is $81.5 million lower than last fiscal year due to the completion of federal stimulus invoicing and a lower preventative maintenance invoicing. Finally, it was reported that PRT ended February with $424.7 million in operating reserves. Unless there are any questions or comments, this concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Member Doyle. Our next report is the report of the Technology Committee. Chair Ms. Gorski.
Good morning, Chair and fellow board members. The Technology Committee met on March 20th, and I have 5 resolutions for your consideration today. The committee first reviewed one bid. The item presented was for Cisco DNA Network Monitor. The committee determined the bid to be in accordance with PRT's procurement policies and procedures and the price to be fair and reasonable. The Technology Committee recommends the award of the item as listed in the resolution for the total amount of $256,670.79. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. With that, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions, motion carries.
The next resolution reviewed was for CCTV and card access system maintenance services. All applicable board adopted policies were followed as part of RFP 24-19 in the selection of Site Solutions LLC to provide CCTV and card access system maintenance services for initial 3-year term and a total not to exceed the amount of $1,800,000 with the option to extend the agreement up to 2 additional years at PRT's discretion. The committee concluded that the services are needed and prices are fair and reasonable and respectfully recommends that the board vote in favor of the resolution to authorize PRT to enter in this agreement. My fellow board members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. With that, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Can I abstain?
Yes, I was going to say, any opposed or abstentions? Please note, member Pan's abstention. Good.
The committee then reviewed a resolution for digital wayfinding, signage, hosting, and support. This resolution would authorize PRT to enter into an agreement with Connect Point, Inc. for an initial 2-year period for a total not to exceed amount of $140,070 with the option to extend the agreement up to 1 additional year. The committee concluded that the services are needed and that the prices are fair and reasonable and respectfully recommends that the board vote in favor of the resolution to authorize PRT to enter into this agreement. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. With that, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Motion?
Second.
Your motion second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
The fourth resolution reviewed was for budgeting software services. RFP 24-21 was advertised and evaluated in compliance with all applicable board adopted policies, and Questica Limited was the highest ranked proposal. The committee concluded that the services are needed and the prices are fair and reasonable, and respectfully recommends that the board vote in favor of the resolution to authorize PRT to enter into an agreement with Questica Limited for an initial 3-year agreement with a total not to exceed amount of $894,097 with the option to extend the agreement up to 2 additional years at PRT's discretion. My fellow members, I respectfully request that the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. With that, I'll ask for motion to approve.
Motion?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Following an update on the fare system refresh, the final resolution reviewed was for continuation of services and support for the fare system. The proposal is to enter into an agreement with Masabi, the current provider, for continuation of services, equipment, warranty, proprietary software, and equipment. The committee concluded that the services are needed and that the prices are fair and reasonable, and respectfully recommends that the board vote in favor of the resolution to authorize PRT to enter into an agreement with Masabi LLC to continue to provide the services for a period of years or a total not to exceed amount of $4,103,839. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. With that, may I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
Questions or discussion?
I do.
Senator Williams?
Is there a time for the support of this software? I saw that all the other resolutions had a time support, and I don't see a time for this.
So she's asking for the term of the agreement. 4 years, 4 years term, but we will verify that and report back to you. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I think, all right, I think I already did that, but I apologize. Sorry. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'd like to abstain.
An abstention, please note the abstention of Senator Williams. Thank you. With that, we're going to move on to new business, but I don't have any new business, but I am going to go back and see if any of those individuals who had signed up to speak because of the change in movement of them to the front of the agenda are present. So just entertain me for doing that for a second. I'm going to go through the 4 people I have indicated that weren't on earlier. So Robin Strickler. Robin Strickler. Robin Strickler? No? Okay. Diana Prince. Diana Prince. Diana Prince. Fonda Doucet. Fonda Doucet. Fonda Doucet. And Amy Zeiss. Amy Zeiss. Amy Zeiss. Okay, thank you. Again, I only did this because we did shift people to the different part of the agenda. So thank you very much for that. Our next order of business will be the All-Star Awards presentation by CEO Kellerman.
Good morning again, Madam Chair. Good morning again, everybody. And thank you for those who have stayed in for our room. Before we close today's meeting, I would like to shift gears a little. We talk a lot of heavy stuff in here today. We had a lot of conversations about funding. But it's important to remember who truly makes this agency happen. And that's the folks who show up for work every single day, the unsung heroes in many cases who are out here doing the work. They keep our region moving. I would say they do it with a smile, which is true, even when they don't feel like it. Also, utmost professionalism and going above and beyond the call of duty. We're very fortunate to work with these folks. So despite the obstacles, whether it's a funding crisis or a sinkhole or a flood or a derailment or traffic or acts of God, let's hope we don't have any more of those in the near future. I think we've had enough of those. Employees always go above and beyond, not just in fulfilling their responsibilities, but in making a real difference in people's lives. So today we have the privilege of recognizing 6 PRT employees whose actions are better than the best here at PRT. So we call them All-Stars. Each year, our All-Star Award Committee receives dozens of nominations from select employees to select employees whose dedication, skill, and heroism stand out. Those honorees have met the highest standards, and we are proud to celebrate them today. As I announce your names, I invite you to come forward to receive your award. If you are the DSD, Gary, Tyron, we invite you to join them as well when they come on up. Our first All-Star recipient is Stephen Fox Jr. Is Mr. Fox here? Good morning, Mr. Fox. Good morning, Frank. Stephen has taken the lead in developing and implementing a new training program for those aspiring to become route foremen, which is what Mr. Fox is doing these days, till you get sick of us, right? Okay, good. Please, me too. We're stuck. Pinky swear. I do. All right, we're good. This sets a new standard in road operations, prepares candidates for complex responsibilities of the role. This manages traffic, crowd control, operating in high-pressure situations like major sporting events, anything which happens on the route, and keeping folks on time. Stephen has dedicated countless hours of his own time designing and training schedules, assessments, and hands-on experiences that put the graduates of your program months ahead. His leadership, patience, and commitment to excellence are invaluable to PRT. So you've got your award, and you promised me you're staying.
Yes.
Yes.
You just stand right here.
Hang on, I'll take 2. Thank you.
Next, we have James Kinney Sr. Is Mr. Kinney here? Yes, you are. That is a very dapper suit. I've never seen you in a suit. I didn't know who you were. So. James is no stranger to the All-Star Awards. Come on up again. And this time his heroism has saved a life. One afternoon, James was driving the Castle Shannon shuttle bus, right? So we're so fortunate you were out there. He witnessed a crash. A Jeep with a mother and a 7-year-old daughter inside had veered off the road and caught fire. Without hesitation, James stopped his bus, grabbed the first aid kit, and ran to help. He pulled the young girl from the smoke-filled vehicle, tended to her injuries, and kept her calm until emergency responders arrived. Thank you to your quick thinking and the first responder training, child made a full recovery. For your bravery and selflessness, we are honored to present you with an All-Star Award. Are you going to pinky swear too? You don't have to. No pressure. So.
Hang on, I'll take two. Thank you.
Our next honoree is Kevin Mata. Kevin, all these years, I've never gotten to embarrass you publicly. This is so great. Come on up. Kevin is an instructor at our Collier division. Is there any division you haven't been at? Oh, they're lost, man. They're lost. I'll see you around though. So Kevin's impact on the careers of new maintenance employees is profound. So for those of you who don't know, yes, our operators come in and get training and they're in a 10-week program, but any maintenance employee may have to move a bus. They may have to position it. They may have to go get a vehicle out in the field. So they get CDL training as well. A CDL is a key requirement for those entering these programs. And without it, their careers can't move forward. They can't do their job. Kevin noticed that one of his students was struggling with a CDL exam due to a language barrier. Now, the student could read and speak English just fine, but when it came time to that exam, there were additional challenges here. So Kevin took the time to ensure the student fully understood every aspect of training. Kevin adapted his instruction, provided additional support, and helped the student pass the CDL exam, giving the student the opportunity to advance a career. Kevin's dedication and willingness to go the extra mile embody what it is to be an all-star. So, yay.
We'll do one more. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for putting up with me picking on you. Our fourth all-star recipient is Darlene Procaccina. Did I get your last name right, Darlene? Now, Darlene, it's Procaccina, right? Or Procaccina? Procaccina. I had it totally wrong. Well, come on up. Thank you. Wow, we go way back. It's so good to see you up here. How you doing? Good. All right. I'm embarrassing you, but is that okay? You earned it. Darlene is a fixture of kindness and commitment at PRT. One of her colleagues described how she continuously goes out of her way to make others feel valued and supported, whether it's mentoring new employees, helping a coworker through a tough time, or simply making sure everyone on her team has what they need to succeed. Darlene's impact is felt far and wide. Her professionalism, compassion, and unwavering dedication make her an irreplaceable part of our agency. And my Darlene story, a couple of years ago, we were going through a spicy spot, and you asked how my kids were doing. And to be seen not just as a management person, but as a human, I cannot tell you how much that meant to me. So I'm glad you're doing it for everyone else, and I'm a very lucky recipient of being with you because you're so amazing. So big round of applause for Darlene.
Big smile. I'll stop one more.
This is the fun part. This is great. This is like, I love everybody and awesome. All right, our final honorees are coming to us from the electronic shop, guys. Good to see you again so quickly. Edward Reek. Edward, say your last name for me. Oh, well, forget it, Edward. Then I'm just kidding. But how do I say his last name? Reich. Okay, so I'll get it right. And William, give me your last name too. Savage? You guys made that up. Not Savage the third. Okay, so you know your own last name. You clearly know, but I'm sure this was fun at Ellis Island. My goodness. So to Ed and Will, who worked together in Electronic Shop, were nominated for their dedication and that exemplifies teamwork and professionalism. Your vigilance and expertise have helped ensure safety and efficiency of our transit system, preventing incidents and solving operational challenges with composure and skill. Your ability to remain calm under pressure and work collaboratively has earned you the respect of peers and leadership alike. Their commitment to excellence reflect the best of what PRT stands for. So Tim, you got to stand up here too. Pretend you're Edward. Be like, hi, I'm Ed. Is going to accept the award. So it's good to see you guys. Will you pinky swear to stick around forever? You don't have to. Heck no. Hey, this is like it's on video.
Right there, we'll do one more. All right, thank you. Thanks.
And short tutorial for electronic shop. It's not just like things that are electronic. It impacts radios. It impacts signal system. There's a lot that goes on with that. So I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude and thanks to everyone who's received their All-Star Award today. Also, everyone who's been nominated. Thank you for making Allegheny County a really awesome place for folks to be for transit. You are the heart of PRT, not the heart of heart, the heart of PRT. We're proud to celebrate you. Can we have one more round of applause for All-Star Award folks? And with that, I will conclude my remarks, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, our next regular meeting is scheduled for Friday, April 25th. So with that, we are adjourned for the day. I want to thank everyone for their participation and we're going to have public comment, right? Yeah. Move forward. Thanks.